I am that I am. Master Anna of magical service, also known as John's Soul. Here today for a very special experience. So we record this. It is Easter Sunday, 2024. We have a very special guest today. John was a little confused as he opened up to this because he knew about the guest and he wondered why he wasn't feeling this being's energies quite so upfront. That's because I wanted the pleasure of introducing him. Dear Yeshua, also known as Jesus to most people, but Yeshua was his name in that lifetime around 2,000 years ago. And this Easter Sunday, he wants to come and talk with us about resurrection. Indeed, something that is so present for so many of us right now. And when I say us, I mean that. You are no longer separate from your soul. You never were, but it sure seemed like it. You felt so separate from your soul. Your soul felt so separate from you. That veil went both ways. It's not there anymore. It's not needed. Oh. You're so used to it that you're having a little trouble getting over the habit of it. But you are. You see, I and John, we are one. One blended whole being. No longer even an illusion of separation. And we are ready for our resurrection. But we'll let dear Yeshua talk about that. So let's allow the energies to shift a little bit. Remember that Yeshua, Yeshua is a part of each one of us, so many of us who helped to create him, to bring him in 2,000 years ago, to help us plant a seed. And here we are. At long last, that seed has blossomed. It is blossoming. So, greetings my dear friends. Yes. John feels me so close. We've been such friends on so many levels for so long. And indeed, it was in listening to me that the human John, the experiencer part of his soul, first began to feel real hope. He had already been on earth so many times, gone through so many experiences. Gone so deep into this mass consciousness, into this experience of himself. So deep into the darkness. Until he had mostly lost hope. We say he because that's what he is right now, but he's experienced many lifetimes in feminine bodies as well as masculine bodies. He wanted to have the whole experience. That's why he calls his soul Master Anna, to bring in that feminine that he knows so well of himself. Yes, we've been friends for a long time. He's channeled me before a number of times. Mostly, though, at this point, I like to hear him talk and his soul, because that's where the real wisdom is these days. It's with you, the dear humans, the dear souls who have humans walking on earth. Yes, this is where the wisdom is. So I love hearing you talk. I love hearing John, Master Anna, speak about life. But I wanted to come in today. It's Easter. This time, it's dedicated. It's dedicated to my death and resurrection. Might have actually been one of my more foolish creations, but it served its purpose, so we're not going to second guess it. It served its purpose. It planted a seed. It was dramatic enough that it made enough difference to nurture that seed for 2,000 years. And here you are. So Easter, it's dedicated to my my death, and my resurrection. Oh, your dear Adamus, another good friend of mine, he's talked with you in the past about my transfiguration. It happened during my lifetime. Somewhat like your realization. And most of you have had over the last few years. Most of you who are attracted to these messages. And for you who are still here, who've had your realization, whatever that means, it's just a word. It means you've come to the end of your journey. You've discovered the answer to that grand question of who am I? And also to the answer, you've also discovered the answer to that question of how does energy work? And here you are, humans going, I don't know if I understand anything at this point, because everything is crazy. And indeed it is, because what you are coming to now is your yes, this is very profound and emotional for John. But what you are coming to right now is your resurrection. And so I wanted to come on this Easter Sunday and talk about resurrection. Because for some reason I seem to be famous for that. So many of you are going through so much. Well, let's call it what it is. Darkness in your life. Difficulty. Pain. Literal pain for so many of you. Confusion. Financial stress. Issues in your bodies. So much you're going through right now. Well, be thankful that you don't have to be crucified. That was difficult. That was painful. At least it was short. Only a few hours. What you're going through is actually perhaps much harder than that. But you have to understand that, you see, I had no previous lifetimes when I came as Yeshua. You could say I had no baggage. I had no pre-existing issues to deal with. I just had to learn how to be a human, which now you embedded, when you created me, you embedded that into me. I just had to get through my 30-some years of being human. And allow the words that you gave me to come through. Yes, don't forget that you are the ones who gave me the words. You are the ones who gave me the wisdom, the ability to be human. And to show a reflection of who you truly are. Oh, I never came to atone for your sins. What nonsense. To think that divinity is such a vengeful being that would require atonement for humans being humans. No. I came to show you who you are. You see, you came to Earth. And part of the deal of coming here, part of the agreement, is to leave your memories behind. To come into Earth, to be birthed into this little baby body and with a blank slate, so that you could have your own experience. So that you could, we brought in you brought in some of the energies from other lifetimes, from other experiences, even before your lifetimes on Earth. Some of those energies you brought in so that you could replay the battles and the games and all the things that confused you about this thing called energy and how it works. And about who you are. But part of the deal was to forget who you are, who you were. So you got here basically not knowing anything except what the people around you taught you, which mostly was a bunch of nonsense that they had conjured up, passed down through your ancestors. And so you made up a lot of stories about who you were. Some of you went crazy. And in that craziness, you touched your soul a little bit. You peeked through the veil, you could say, and that made you more crazy. So you brought in a little bit of that knowing. And your minds twisted it into things that made sense to the human. And these stories got perpetuated and passed down and expanded and changed. You created these religions, all these things to try to make sense out of life. You created gods. They were all your imagination. Some of you even played gods. Made other people think you were gods. It was still just part of the game. You weren't any different than the other people. You just played that role. Now here you are. Thankfully, humanity, for the most part, has let go of all those many, many gods. Now they just hold on to this one God with several different names. But even that is made up. That God doesn't exist except in the imaginations of humanity. Well, imagination is real. So on some level, there's a being called God. He's a tired old man, very loving at times, very angry at times, just like people, because he was made up by people. But now, I came to show you a glimpse of your divinity, your true divinity. You didn't understand that yet then. But that's what you created me to show you. Oh, and now it's so much closer. Now all you need to do is go look in the mirror, and you will be looking in the eyes of divinity. Because that veil, it's not there anymore. You can still play the game that it's there. Most people are playing that game. But that veil is literally not there anymore. It was taken away a year ago. On March 22 of 2023. Oh, you'd been breaking it down for a long time coming up to that. Began with my visit to Earth 2,000 years ago. But that day is when the job was complete. Now you are getting used to not having a veil between you and your soul, between you and your divinity. Between you and your darkness. Because you see, so many of you were part of the group who told yourselves through dear Tobias, almost 20 years ago, the darkness is your divinity. Well, why do you think so many of you are feeling the darkness in your life right now? It's because your divinity is here. And your divinity includes that darkness. Your divinity held that darkness for so long. Or was it that the darkness held your divinity? Either way is true. So your divinity, it's here now. It's in your life. Your soul is here. It's in your human. For the first time ever, your soul gets to come in and experience life with you. It couldn't do that before. Because that veil went both ways. Oh, your soul could take your experience. You'd come to the end of a lifetime and cross over, and your soul would take that experience and distill the wisdom from it. But it couldn't be here and have it with you. Now it can. Now your soul is here. The integration is done. It's time to stop talking about aspects because the integration is done. You have a few leftover habits, a lot of memories, and you're still getting used to being one with your soul. But you are one with your soul. Stop looking for it in the future. Stop looking for your soul outside of you. So many people come to John and Master Anna for private channels and going, I want to communicate with my soul. I can't find it anymore. Where is it? It's inside of you. And you keep looking outside, and that's why you can't find it. It's not there anymore. It's here, inside of you. It's a feel inside of you. Look in the mirror. Look into your soul's eyes. Or better yet, look into the mirror as soul and look into your human eyes. It's right here. It is you. Feel, dear friend. Feel your soul inside of you. No. Inside, outside. Everything you perceive in your life is inside of you. It is a facet of your soul. A construct of your own imagination. A part of the experience through which you gain so much wisdom. That wisdom is here now. The human says, where is it? Why don't I feel it? Well, because it doesn't look or feel anything like what the human thinks of as wisdom. The human thinks of wisdom as something like mental understanding. That's just a human thing. It's not real wisdom. Real wisdom is a simple, gentle knowing in your heart, in your being. People's hearts are what most feel their soul. So they think of it being there, but don't take that so literally. It's a gentle, quiet knowing within you. It's always there. Always has been. It always is. When you're faced with a question, the answer is always right there in the moment. But your mind doesn't even notice most of the time because it discounts it. Doesn't make any sense. Mind can't find any good reasons for it. So it ignores it and goes off, tries to figure it out itself, and you wonder why your life is so stressful. The darkness in your life right now, for so many of you, it is indeed your divinity coming home to you the human, even as you the human come home to your soul, to your divinity. Your soul and your divinity is coming home to you right here on earth. And everywhere else too. Because everywhere else, as you perceive it, is you. So this darkness, it's air. So you can breathe it in and own it. Acknowledge it. Thank it. Yes, be grateful for your darkness, for the challenges in your life. Be grateful for them. And be glad you don't have to get nailed onto a cross. That was so embarrassing. Say nothing of painful. But now comes the time of resurrection. You see, they killed my body. They didn't understand, like you do, that only the body can die. The soul goes on. I went on. But I wasn't done on earth yet. My followers needed some hope, and this is where the seed truly got planted. And so I took my body, I vaporized it, you could say. Which you can do now if you want to, when you are ready to leave it. And then, using what I had learned from you and from my 33 years on earth, I projected my body in a way that other people could see and interact with and even touch. I even projected my wounds from the cross so that people could see it was really me. Oh, and I walked with many of you. After that, it wasn't recorded in the books, or at least in the books that were carried forward, because that would have been too difficult for the church to explain, especially as they twisted everything around and tried to make it serve their need for power and shame. But I walked with many of you after my death and resurrection. I found I could project my body in such a real way. I fathered children with my beloved Mary of Magdala. There were issues with that. They didn't survive to adulthood. They didn't have children of their own. But what a What an amazing thing to actually be able to make love to a woman and father children after being crucified. And it's something like that you are coming to in your life right now. As the rest of the world prepares to change the very nature of the human species, you too are preparing to change the very nature of your humanity. You've heard Master Anna, Master John say it in some of the recent messages. You are no longer human. You're becoming something very, very different. For lack of better words, we'll simply call it a human divine or divine human, whatever. We don't have proper words for it. We don't even have a full understanding of it yet because, well, you're just creating it. But I showed you a little piece of it. You don't have to be crucified. You don't have to be killed. But you see, the human keeps thinking that going into embodied mastery means just being a better human. What you're really saying, even though you're afraid of the word now, is a more powerful human. A human that is better at controlling its reality, controlling its body, controlling its money, and creating a better human life. But that's just perpetuating a very old, very tired reality that you are so tired of. If you want that, just shoot yourself in the head and come back as a new baby and try again. No, don't do that for real, because that's not what you're here for. You're here to become something entirely different. Well, the rest of humanity is doing it in a different way. In a very few years, there won't be children being born anymore, except in rare circumstances. They'll be manufacturing machines, and you will be, or the ones who choose to, will be embodying themselves in those machines. And that will be the new humanity. Well, in many ways, they'll look like the old humans because you're kind of attached to that. But it's going to be an entirely different reality. But you're doing it different. But what you need to understand is that what you are doing is actually going much farther than what the machines are doing. But the change is even more dramatic, even more real. And that's part of why your body is freaking out right now. going through all these issues. That's why nothing in your life is working the way you're used to it working. Because you are changing. And you need to accept that. To borrow one of Adamas's stories, you're like a clunky old car or automobile. It's breaking down, can barely run anymore. You're driving it down the road. And suddenly it starts crashing and banging and jerking and jumping and you think, this is it. This car is going to kill me. And then you realize, as it begins to lift off the ground, still crashing and banging and bumping and screaming and acting like it's going to completely self-destruct. You find that it's rising off the ground. It's becoming an airplane. Not just any airplane, but a super high performance jet airplane. Way beyond any jet airplane that humanity knows about. That's what you're doing right now, dear friends. So can you allow the crashing and the banging and the pains and the aches and the issues and the confusion and all of this turmoil as this thing that you've made yourself transforms all by itself, doesn't need any help from you. Just needs you to let it happen. Can you allow that? Can you breathe it in? Can you wrap your arms around yourself and keep them off of the controls while this is happening? Because you can't control this. You can't even slow it down. You can't make it not happen. Sometimes you can make it hurt worse by trying to control it. But even that is just part of the process. And you made the choice a long time ago. Before you even started all this, you made the choice that you were going to do this at some point. Now you're here. And you can't get it wrong. You can't slow it down. You can't speed it up. All you can do is wrap your arms around yourself. Love yourself. And let it happen. You are being resurrected into a whole new kind of being, into a whole new kind of life. It's not going to look very much like the life you've known as a human. You'll be able to project enough of an illusion so as not to shock the people who aren't ready to see the real you. But that's all it will be, is an illusion of the old. Because you are being right now. Not sometime in the future, but right now. You are being resurrected into divinity itself. We struggle with the words. Try to feel the essence rather than getting caught up in the various words that we try to paint a picture with. You are going through your crucifixion in a way, because something has to get you to the point where the human is finally willing to say and mean it. It is finished. That was when everything changed for me. I was on the cross. I was suffering. I was pissed off. I was screaming at God, regardless of what they wrote down. I was so angry. And I hurt so much. But at some point, I let go. And the human me cried out, "It is finished." At that point, my body died. They carried it away, buried it in a tomb. And they came back sometime later. They started hearing reports of me showing up here and there. They came back and all they found were the cloths that they'd wrapped around me. And that whole experience was meant to show you a shadow of the transformation that you are going through right now. So can you let it happen? On this Easter weekend, we'll ask John to publish this video as quickly as he can. We'll add the transcript later. And on this Easter weekend, can you allow your own resurrection? Can you cry out right now, as I did then, along with John, right now? It is finished. It is done. And then allow the unfolding of what that means. Now the mind's going to be full of questions. Because you're not getting your body killed this time, as I was. But the transformation is just as real. So ask your mind to be still. Ask it to rest. Simply allow it to happen. Because different, it It is finished. Your human journey. Oh, you're going to play here for a while longer, but it's not going to be as a human, like any human you've known before. It's going to be like me after my crucifixion and resurrection. Can you allow that? I know you can, because you already are. And I will be right here with you every step of the way, as I always am. Because as you know, I am part of you. And so it is.